start. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the latest in the Alliance Chain interview series. For those of you who joined us last time, when Dino Myers-Lamptey introduced Dan Saxby of the Elephant Room for a very inspirational talk. I know it's inspirational because we got very good traction on social media when we shared some of the highlights. And Dan has selected Jackanory and Lucy Gillions as the next person in the agency in the series with whom the Elephant Room would like to learn more about in the anticipation of potentially working together. And since the Alliance is really all about supporting each other in collaboration, we're very keen that each of the agencies know more about each other. So from here on in, I'll shut up and hand over to Dan, who will introduce you to Lucy, who is in some exotic surroundings, but we'll overlook that. And Dan, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Clive. Hi, Lucy. First of all, if this is what remote working looks like, I am in. Just tell everyone where you are, just so we can all feel really jealous.
I am in Halkidiki in Greece.
Ah, very, very nice. So 10 cocktails in. Let's go.
I'm a few in, but I'm not 10.
So we met briefly. We spent some time together on Zoom, didn't we? As I was looking for an agency partner, and Clive put us in touch. And I went through your website, and there was some brilliant storytelling in there, full of personality. But perhaps you could tell everybody in your own words. What is your elevator pitch for the agency, and what are you all about?
No worries at all. So Jackanory is a live events and I guess now virtual and immersive events agency. We've been running now for 7 years, and we specialize in telling stories through live events. So everything we do needs to repeat and tell the story of a brand, whether it be a new product launch, whether it be an old school brand experience. We deliver every touch point of that story through the experiences that we create. And we are really, really passionate about being true to brand experience. We believe in the heart of it being the magic, creating the storytelling, and really bringing that brand to life without losing any traction or, I guess, any noise around the brand generally, and making sure that we are really, really stick to what we believe in through Jackanory.
Fantastic. You called it old school brand experience, but that's kind of what I still live for. So yeah. I think some of my fondest memories are kind of being there in events, feeling and breathing the brand. I guess if you were to try and explain to potential clients or partner agencies your absolute sweet spot, where exactly would that sweet spot be?
So I think for Jackanory, the sweet spot would be just creating the magic. So being really, really simple and true to the message that we want to create through brand experience. I think it can get very, very lost. I think it can be lost in a quagmire of other disciplines that need to go alongside it, in a lot of bureaucracy surrounding the clients itself. But what we really, really try and hone in on is what the actual problem that brand is trying to solve, and doing it through a really creative, I guess, fun and engaging way. And that might not always be happiness. It can be through all sorts of emotions. But Jackanory is really, really strives to be creative in how we deliver those messages. We really believe in making sure that every part of the experience delivers the messages that we want to tell, so that it's never lost. So every touch point you come across, you will really understand that brand and what it's trying to get for you. And I think in terms of the difference for Jackanory and the USP that I would say we have, it is that creativity. It's the passion behind what we do, and it's really believing and delivering an event that from start to finish makes you understand and realize what that brand is all about.
You said something in there which is, understanding or solving problems for brands, or understanding the problem we're trying to solve. Maybe could you bring it alive for everyone and say, out of all that wonderful work on your website, maybe pick a project you think this is what we're all about, and this was the problem that we were trying to solve or successfully solved.
So actually I was actually thinking about this earlier. So it's an interesting, there's two projects that I will probably touch on because they're quite different, but yet I think they really tell what Jackanory is about. So when we talked about an old school brand experience, one of my favorite projects, I would say, is that we've worked with Cream Egg for a fair few years, and we created the Cream Egg pop-up cafe, which was in Soho. And there was no real problem. There was a celebration and I guess it was a reminder of how great Cream Egg is. It was celebrating the fans as much as it was about the egg. It was about reminding consumers that this is a great egg. It is a fun egg. And it's not just for Easter. It was kind of about celebrating then. It was also about saying thank you very much to their consumers for all the support and all the love that they gave them. So they just basically wanted to create something pretty, I guess, nuts is the honest answer to that. And they came to us with a brief. They came to us with a few ideas of their own. And we really worked alongside them to create the magic behind the brand. And we created a 3-leveled cafe, which at the top had a ball pool at the top, which was representative of the eggs themselves, but was also about adults having fun. You don't necessarily need to be only 5 to be in a ball pit. And the second floor was about, it was a cafe, so it was about celebrating the egg, and it was about creating different recipes for Cream Egg, giving the fans something back. So we did a Cream Egg toasty, we did a Cream Egg brownie, and we did like Egg and Soldiers, where you had a melted egg with strawberries. And then downstairs was our takeaway service, where you could take away a Cream Egg toasty, and the queues for that were around the block. But I guess the point of this is that it was about creating that magic. It was about being really true to what the brand is about. It was about celebrating that fun. And our clients, what we try and really instill on them is to have one message. Like, don't send us 45,000 messages. Be true to what you want to achieve, and we will help you do that in a really fun and creative way. And I think Jackanory is very strong in making sure that that sort of story, that magic comes across. And we both, Joe and I, are very passionate about that. And I think that's why we started the agency. Oh, hang on. Sorry. That's why we started the agency, and that is why we really wanted to stick to the proper, I guess, the meaning behind brand experience without getting it lost, sort of thing. But the other project I wanted to touch on, which is really interesting and a bit different, is we found ourselves in a very odd world in the last couple of years, and I don't mean pandemic wise, I mean pre that, in that experiential means so much to so many people now, so many different things to so many people, that no longer can you just walk into somewhere and order a gin and tonic. Everyone wants to have passwords, or you have to walk into somewhere and you're exclusively invited, or you have to sign up on social media and you might be chosen, or whatever it might be. And we found ourselves in an interesting situation with a couple of the big bars and restaurants in London, where they asked us to think about how we could create an experiential, I guess, event stroke experience within a bar. So we've worked with a lot of them for the last couple of years in creating their menus and their experiences within drinking and hospitality, which has been so interesting and something that I in particular really, really love. And I'm passionate about. Cocktails or terraces or bars themselves, and really creating the experience behind a brand or the hotel or the restaurants. Like, we got individual sort of briefs from each of the different sort of clients we had, and it was just really, really interesting about a different area to almost bring experiential to. And we now specialize in that, and I think we're quite unique in that we don't have, there aren't many people who do that, and I think we really specialize in that. So I guess from 2 projects, it would be one that I really truly love from a pure brand experience point of view, and the other one I love from an innovation and a bit of a difference point of view, and something that can really mark us as an agency out as a bit different.
So you can we go back to the Cream Egg for a second, and then we'll come back to the pub story in a minute. So, or the bars in a sec. So it sounds like an incredible experience. I do love the odd Cream Egg. I can imagine that being a magical experience for everybody that comes into first-hand contact with that. When we spoke last, you were helping me understand how you can drive more scale through the investments. Experiential requires an investment to make it as magical as you're describing. So help me understand how either that project or how you approach bringing more scale and measurability.
Yeah. So it's actually really interesting. I mean, it's not necessarily about budget. It's about thinking differently. It's about creating an experience that, well, specifically in current climes, can go virtual, and that's how you achieve scale. And I think going forward, as the world changes in response to the pandemic, we're going to have to be really clever in how we ask and how we scale, because for a certain while we're not going to be able to have the same numbers that we always had at events, etc., etc. So we're going to have to be much cleverer in how we do that. But historically, it's all about creating an experience that goes beyond just the individual person that may experience it. I know that sounds a bit contradictory, but it's about, as somebody would go in to have that experience, how many other people see it? What's the visibility beyond the actual event itself? So have we amplified it through all the channels that we can? Have we scaled it up from a point of view of it's got a story that has been seeded out before the actual event itself? So it organically grows and builds as you start the campaign, and then you create the individual experience, which can then be amplified on the ground. So it might be that, prime example would be if you went into Westfield Shopping Centre and you were in the middle of their atrium. So yes, there's going to be an experience and there's going to be visibility and a scale of that from a literal brand event point of view, but there are thousands of people that will walk past it. There are thousands of people that will see it on Westfield's newsletter each week, on their digital screens that are put up, on their I guess on their weekly PR blast and things like that. So for us, it's about creating scale through all sorts of different ways and means, and just making sure that you amplify it beyond that actual event, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think when I've partnered with experiential agencies in the past, there'd be a separation between, engaging an experiential agency to do that live event, and then where there's a creative agency involved or a digital agency involved, they would be kind of looking after all of that other customer participation amplification.
Yeah.
Do you have the capability and services to kind of broaden into some of that work if that's required, if it's a media agency coming to you to kind of put on that full service experience?
Yeah, yes. I say that. Yes and no. I think one of the reasons when Joe and I set up Jackanory was to be true to what we are experts in and not to claim to be a jack of all trades. And we have always remained true to that. And we prefer to partner with people that we trust and know will do their part of a journey well. So we actually randomly, we both have quite a strong background. So Joe comes from a PR background and I come from a very classic below the line marketing background. So I'm very promotional based, and then I moved across into experiential. So we have the capabilities from probably a skill set, but we can't claim that we are suddenly able to put on a cracking PR campaign. We can give it a go, but we would far rather work with experts and other people that we know and trust through networks and things like that, and really be true to what we can do and make sure that our part is the best that we can do, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. You know what excellent looks like, but in terms of execution, stick to the things that you know.
What you know.
So let's just talk about why you set the agency up in the first place with Joe, and kind of what motivated you to take that jump.
Yeah, I think one in particular was we had just on 14. I'm very over dramatic. You'll get to know this, but we'd gone through about 14 changes of the agency that we were in, where we had merged with other agencies, we'd been taken over, we got a new parent company, and and throughout all of this, we lost our way. And as an agency that we truly believed in, we kind of lost what I would say our magic, our passion, and what we believed, it was called Wax Communications, was really about. And Joe and I in particular have worked together for years. And we wanted to go back to, as I keep banging on about, the magic behind experiential. And we just felt that where we were losing our own identity, but we were also losing the work that we were doing, because we were getting lost in a load of red tape. We were getting lost in a load of bureaucracy within the agency world and also client side. And we decided that we wanted to go out on our own and really, really pull back what we believed experiential was about and be experts in our field, give ourselves to it from a passionate point of view, because both Joe and I are very, very passionate about what we do. And we're quite enthusiastic when you meet the pair of us. We often get called like Laurel and Hardy because we can talk for hours and we're very enthusiastic, but it's genuinely, we love it. And we just wanted to be able to create and build an agency that was based on that, and that would really, really bring that home to any client and not be worried about 17 layers of departments you've got to go through, or red tape you've got to get signed off, etc. It's kind of being an extension of a brand's team is how we kind of like to bill ourselves, but with exactly the same skill set. We come from big agency worlds. We've got exactly the same skill sets that anyone else has. We're just a little bit smaller, a little bit more agile, and a little bit more flexible. And I think that stands us in better stead with our clients, and we become their friends, I guess. I know that sounds really cheesy, but I think we like to build the relationships and really enjoy working with our clients as much as I think they, hopefully, fingers crossed, enjoy working with us as well. And so Jackanory was born basically to do all of that, and for us to be able to work together and build a community, a agency, a culture that both of us wanted to nurture and grow within, and one that hopefully a client would believe in building. And then the storytelling came about because, so Jo used to get called Jackanory at university because she would tell a good story and could talk the hind legs off a donkey, and as you can tell, I can too. So between the two of us, we were always storytelling, always chatting away merrily. And Jackanory in itself, obviously, is the old school BBC show anyway of telling stories. There's also, in urban slang, it's about creating stories, but in a slightly sort of more modern way as well. So everything worked from a Cockney rhyming slang point of view, and the fact that, you know, to being true to telling stories behind brands. And that's where the name came from. And then, you know, touch wood, for the last 7 years, it's built and grown as that, you know, has, and so has our passion. So hopefully, and we've always remained true to what we sort of started out to achieve, I hope.
Talked about being friends with clients and having fun in the work. I think if clients can't have fun doing the type of work that you're doing, then I suspect they're in the wrong line of work. So no, absolutely. Let's talk about clients for a second then. So if people were wondering whether or not Jackanory was right for one of their clients, or if clients are watching the repeat of this, what types of clients do you think are you best suited to, and what sorts of problems or challenges are you most equipped to solve?
So we've been very, very fortunate in that we've actually worked with quite a broad brush of clients. We really, really have. But I suppose I would say we most recently and for the last few years have worked quite closely with beauty brands and also alcohol brands, which might say more about Jo and I than it does about them. But I think on a genuine note, we've done a fair few sort of campaigns from that point of view. And I think from a point of view of being suited to, it's a really difficult one to actually answer, because I think the beauty and the USP of Jackanory is that we are small, therefore we can work on all sorts of clients, and you get Jo and I pretty much. I mean, we have other team members that we pull on when we need to, but you truly do get both of us who work on it. So we have quite a broad background between us of various, I guess, brands and different industries, sort of from that point of view. But we can sort of adapt to almost anything. And I think, as I say, we are experts probably in beauty and in alcohol, but we do, it's hard to almost say, because experiential can just cover so many things. And I think it's about being experts in a field or an area. I think it's more about that than it is about the clients that we can work for. Just trying to politicians answer there, but that's not, I know that's probably not what you were after. But I didn't mean to be vague, but I just think it's quite hard to pinhole exactly where we would be experts for a client, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. I think one of the subjects we probably can't avoid is the pandemic, and I know it's been difficult for a lot of agencies out there, and certainly the events, live experience sector has been impacted hugely. So tell us how you fared, and maybe are you seeing shoots of recovery? Are you seeing now? I know you've innovated and come up with kind of new ideas. So tell us how you've responded to it and how the future is now looking.
Yeah, no, it's been really, you know, as it has been for everyone. And the thing is, it's really hard to talk about, you know, how awful it's been for you in a business, etc., when there's obviously so many other horrific things going on with this pandemic. And it's, you know, you have to try and, the hardest thing in the world is trying to remain positive and trying to remember how lucky you are in the scenarios that you are. But from a business point of view, it's been phenomenally tough. I mean, you know, we fell off a cliff within a month, and it wasn't about, and I think it's the strangest thing is that it's nothing that you do. So for the first time in our lives, it was nothing we could control. It came completely out of the blue. We had no real idea why it was coming or what was going to happen. And to begin with, I guess we continuously just went, well, I'm sure it'll be fine by July. Sure, it'll be fine by August. I'm sure it'll be fine by September. And then suddenly it was like, actually, I don't think this is going to be. This needs change. This needs adaptations. This needs thinking about. And, for the first 6 to 8 months, we genuinely just kept our heads, above water. We did a couple of tiny things that we had with clients that we, are very good clients of ours. And then we adapted slightly to do some virtual events, and we now have the capability of doing virtual events, but there's a reality there that they can't command the same finances, because, to be honest, you just can't charge the same levels. So there's a commercial reality you have to balance there, and it's great to innovate and change, but it's never going to keep your agency afloat from the same point of view. So we had to think about how else we were going to do that. And also, as I've been saying throughout the whole of this, the biggest thing for us as well, it was remaining true to what we did. We just didn't want to suddenly pretend that we were a phenomenal virtual events agency, because we're not. Yes, we've learned and we can do it, and we can absolutely, adapt to do that. But we wanted to remain true, again, to always what we promised ourselves that we would do. So we've had to innovate, otherwise we wouldn't have survived. But I still believe that we have really tried to navigate it in almost a hybrid way. So we still believe that, we wouldn't get rid of the true experiential stuff, which is why we've waited until almost, I guess it was probably November, December time, to really think about what we could do and how we could change. And I think that was really important to us. And thankfully, our clients have stuck with us in that as well. And we are starting to see those shoots, as you say. And we've had a few briefs in that are purely experiential again. I mean, they're still a little bit unknown. Can it happen? Will it happen? What do we do if? There's a lot, there's a lot more planning of what if now that I've never had before. Sort of scenario A, scenario B, and scenario C. But it is looking more positive. It's still very uncertain though, because from a daily basis, from our own uncertainties in our worlds, as in, we get told one day we're going to lock down, the next day we're not, and who knows what's going to happen next. It's the same with the events industry, and it's horrible. And it's really hard when it's something you truly love. And also when you know that it's something that people are craving and need, and you really miss in your lives, and it's something that, and I'm not even just talking about what I do as a job. I'm talking about people need this to live. You need it. You need experiences. You need adventures. You need things like that. And so it's so important, I believe, that we get that back. And I'm really liking the fact that we're starting to see a recovery program around events and theatres and hospitality. And, the government has invested in that, and it is really important. And I think we'll get there. I think we've got to be flexible. I think we've got to adapt. And I think we're going to have to live in a very, very reactionary world for the next couple of years. But I'm really hoping that it will come out stronger. And actually, do you know what? Now looking back, do I think that it was that safe to have 1 billion people in one stadium? Possibly not. So actually the way going forward, I think probably is a really lovely way of changing events and experiences. And maybe we will be safer, and maybe they will be better in the long run. You never know. And I think by adapting and changing to that, I think we can only benefit. And I think we're starting to see that with our clients. They're thinking slightly differently. We're thinking differently. And I hope that means that for the future, it will just be very, very positive. Well, I'm praying.
Oh, you still there, Lucy? I think we just lost that last bit. Sorry, we just missed the last bit. Just that the line went a bit fuzzy.
Oh no worries. I was just saying that I said I really hope it changes, and I hope it becomes better. Otherwise, I don't know what else I'm going to do. So.
Well, if you ever tune into someone like Mark Ritson, he'll tell you that we're a little bit like goldfish, and as soon as they're allowed, we'll revert directly back to our old behaviours, which I
totally believe the same. Yeah.
So I think, as you say, people are craving that live experience, craving the opportunity to go out, have fun, and be immersed in something that's totally. Everyone's just been waiting to, I think, be told when it's safe to do so. So
totally
for all of our sakes, I hope that comes soon. I don't know if you can answer this question, I guess, because things are still sort of so ambiguous, but in terms of sort of the ambition over the next kind of 2 or 3 years, where do you see Jackanory going, and how will you kind of evolve, do you think?
Well, so that is interesting. I think, yeah, you're right. I think it's really hard to answer right now. So I think what we always believed we would do would be really become experts in our field. We believe that we would mold and adapt and grow with some of the long-term clients that we have, and really try and build them up from where they were. We've started with a few brands that were little, and we've worked with them along the way, etc., etc. But post-pandemic and thinking of the next few years, to be honest, I actually think we need to think a little bit differently about our own stability. And I think we need to think about how we can make sure that we are offering the best, the safest, the most innovative way for our clients for the future of experiential. And I think that's going to be really, really key for the next few years. And I think it's going to be really important that we create something that is sustainable for the future, that does remember what we've just been through. I think we'll be less cynical. I think we'll be more creative. I think we'll be more forgiving. I think it'll be much more interesting in the future. And I think that can only be a good thing. But I think from Jackanory's point of view, we will always remain true to what we believe in. And I hope that we just need to be, we would just need to build up again from where we were, and probably be a bit kinder to everyone and everything, and actually create things that are, I think everyone needs to feel secure again, safe again, and that the future is much, much brighter. And I guess Jackanory will just do all that it can to help clients create that for their consumers and for their brand. And I think that's kind of how we look at it. But I can't really answer that as to how we're going to do that for the next couple of years, because we're still very much trying to work out what's coming next, is the honest answer to that.
Yeah. Well, let's. I think we're going to open up to questions shortly, but before we get there, did you have some other good personal news during the pandemic? Was it early on in the pandemic? Did you become a mum? Did I hear you? I think I tuned into another podcast and heard you talk about that. Congratulations.
Yes, I did indeed. Thank you very much. No, thank you.
Tell us about how you've managed that experience with also leading a company through perhaps the biggest shock that we've all had to kind of lead through. Any observations or lessons for us?
I have a wonderful, wonderful relationship with my local Majestic now. That has helped for this entire scenario generally. But on a genuine note, it's been tough. I mean, it's been totally and utterly about juggling. It's been lovely in so many ways, because to begin with, I could, the fact that the pandemic meant the business slowed down meant I could really enjoy my time with my little boy. But then at the same time, it was very conflicting, because the loss of the business and what, really builds, or what makes me tick, was really, really difficult as well. And I think, again, when I said before about sort of the future and things, I guess it's just getting through this has really made me look at things differently. And it's really made me see the joy of having a little one, their innocence. And still throughout all of this, he hasn't got a clue what's going on. And he's still very happy bumbling around in his own little world. And it really makes you think about what is important and what is very key to family life, to your well-being, your mental health, and all those sort of things. So that has been really, really amazing. But juggling that with trying to get the business through has been phenomenally tough. And particularly in the first lockdown, when we weren't allowed any help, when it was literally, I was going back to work on, ironically, into lockdown on March 23rd. So I really thought I was going back to work. He was 6.5 months, and I was like, happy days, I really want to get back to work. I love working. And then I suddenly went into, actually, I don't even know how long I've got with, looking after the little one. And I never wanted to be, this is nothing to do with that, but I didn't want to just be a stay-at-home mum. I love working. So for me, it was personally a really, really big struggle. But as I say, on one hand, you've got to be very thankful for that. On the other hand, it puts things in perspective. You look at things differently, and you do start to navigate things in a different way. So I guess I approached the business, in a much softer way. I probably wasn't as angry. I probably wasn't as stressed about it, because I had other things to worry about. And it just meant that, you just have to sort of live day by day. And I had to, because I had to look after my little boy, and I had to look after the business. And you just get through. And with the wine help, obviously, as well. So yeah, it was tough, but you come out stronger at the other end. Well,
very good. Final question, and then maybe see if there's any questions, is how should the people listening engage with you? At what point in a project, if they're thinking there's a live element to our campaign, what should they do?
Well, so this is again a classic vague answer I'm going to give, but there's a reason behind this. So the absolute ideal would be involve us at the beginning, because as soon as we know what you're thinking, we can help think about where we could fit in. And a lot of people get to the point where they're like, right, so we thought about this project, we're going to do this, you've now got 2 weeks to turn it around. That's fine, we can do that. We can slot in at any point in this journey, but you may not get the best of us, because yes, we can turn around whatever you thought you wanted to do, and we can turn it around and we can add value in that sense, and we can tell you what works and what doesn't. But if you involve us at the beginning, then we can really work alongside you to create, to build, to scale up an idea. And also, one of the biggest things that we did when we started Jackanory was be true to, as I say, remaining experts. And we wanted to make sure that we don't want to tread on anyone else's toes. So we're not built to be sitting in an all agency meeting saying, give us all the budget. We know where we stand. But the point is, if you involve us at the beginning with all the other disciplines, we can actually add more value, because you can try and work alongside other people and create a better end-to-end consumer experience. And that means from every discipline's point of view, not just from an experiential point of view. So that's the ideal. That said, because we're small and because we're quite flexible, we can turn on quite a lot of stuff in a very short space of time. So often people come to us and they say, we've been through the first bit, and actually we need you, we've got this idea, we've got 6 weeks to do it, 4 weeks to do it, whatever, and we need you to react and give us your best version of it. Go. So it's really interesting. I mean, as I say, it's we can almost fit in anywhere along the journey, really, but the absolute ideal would be the beginning, definitely.
Understood, loud and clear. Clive, Graham, should we pause and just see if there's any questions from anybody for the last kind of 5 minutes or so? I haven't got the chat open, so
Clive's on mute.
Yeah, if anyone's got any questions, please ask away. I think Lucy has given us a very good view of Jackanory, and at the same time the challenges faced by working mothers, which I think is insightful in itself. We all know that there are challenges, but the resilience, as well as Majestic Wine, seems like a great partnership. Gary.
Yeah, that's I just jump in there. This is Atom. Hi, Lucy. Thanks.
Hi.
A lot of great information and nuggets there. Besides Majestic Wine, what do you do to relax, to just reset the mind and body and soul, whatever? You know, how do you unwind from all the mayhem?
Well, oh, sorry, hang on. I don't know why that does that. Sorry. So, I mean, I can't lie. I do love a drink. So I do like socializing. I love spending time with family and friends, and that probably is quite a lot of what I do to unwind. I have recently middle-aged, what is that it is called? I've got a Peloton. So I've succumbed to that joy. So I do quite a lot of exercise now which really does help sort of a morning to get me going and start my day. Yeah. And then really it is Rafi, my little boy. I mean, he is great fun, and he reminds me of a more simple, uncomplicated time. And so at the beginning and the end of the day, spending half an hour with him and watching Paw Patrol, Peppa Pig, whatever we might be talking about, or they're just brilliantly innocent, funny phrases, does really, really help you sort of unwind and relax. And well, I don't know about relax. So that's definitely with a 2-year-old, that's definitely not a thing, but it's a different way of looking at it. But I would say the thing I love most in the world is being with friends and family, and it's spending time with them and just having, fun, taking yourself out of a stressful situation and reminding yourself how lucky you are on a daily basis from your family and your friends, and the things that sort of make you tick from that point of view, I would say.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks.
No worries.
Harry, did you have something to?
I've got a little question, Lucy.
Go on.
I mean, I think everyone on this call will have detected the passion and energy you put into your work and your clients. But have you ever thought about scaling the business, which would distance you from that that real engagement. Has scaling ever, have you ever considered that, growing?
Absolutely. And if you ask my husband, he's insistent on it, because he is like, I really think you could make this big. I think, then we could look at selling it. Like, I mean, he's from a very commercial point of view, but it's not really what makes, I don't think, I mean, I can actually see Jo's on this call, so she might kill me after this, but I don't think it's really what we want to do. We actually enjoy it too much. And yes, it's stressful. And yes, there are times where you do want to walk away and you want, where is my team that could do this? Why am I sitting here building bottles or whatever I'm doing, or, making this with my own fair hands? But it keeps you real, it keeps you true. And I think it keeps us really strong for our clients, because they get us. And they get, the thing I used to hate about the agency was we'd go in and pitch, and you'd have the A team that would go in, and you've got these people buy on a pitch basis, and they're literally like, love this team, I'm in. And then they never see them again. And I never believed in that. I believed in that you should see the team that delivers that pitch, and the team that has worked on your brand and understands it and takes it on board should be the team you work with. So it's really hard for us to step away from that point of view. And we've talked about it long and hard, and we've talked about different ways of doing it. I think the ultimate dream would be to step back a bit, but not necessarily to grow it so much that we would be like non-exec directors, or that we would be, we'd trot in once every 6 months. I mean, I say that if someone walked in tomorrow and went, here's £4 billion each, I'm sure we'd walk away tomorrow. But no, I'm being naughty. But I think on a genuine level, we just enjoy it too much. And I think both of us love working. Both of us enjoy having a purpose alongside our families as well. And I think as girls, that's quite important. And I'm not about to bring up a feminist debate or anything like that, but it's been phenomenal the amount of times that people have said to us, oh, doing it for the girls, how nice you two are doing it. And you're like, why is that a nice thing? Like, we enjoy working as much as the next person. And so I think it's been really interesting from that point of view. And that's where I think we both are built to just sort of stay within the business. But it is definitely, and I think post-pandemic, interestingly, I think it's probably another conversation we will have to see where we go next and what we think about. I do think that's true.
Yeah.
Lucy, I have a question for you, if I may. And thank you very much for telling us your story. Before I do, I'll give a plug for Naked Wines. I've migrated from Majestic to Naked, and I love them. Absolutely.
Oh, like it. Okay.
Love the whole supporting the independent wine growers and their stories, and the fact that you get the stuff that doesn't go to the big supermarkets. The quality of the wine's great, so worth having a look at.
Yeah. Love it. Okay, I will.
I'm going to ask you the how long's a piece of string question, which is, what's the sort of the minimum project that you would take on for a client in terms of value?
So that is a really interesting question. So we 2 years ago sat down and said to ourselves, we were getting, that's not fair. That's not fair to say that. It used to annoy us. We get briefs in from clients who would say, this is a pitch and it's £15,000. And that is just infuriating when it's a 4-way pitch for something like that, because that is a waste of time for everyone it doesn't really make you feel great. It also is like, the amount of time and effort that an agency has to put into a pitch is really, really frustrating from the sort of value point of view to win a 15K brief. So we set ourselves goals where we basically said we wouldn't take on anything under 30K without, and that's not being arrogant. It was just a case of balancing the work that was going into the output that was desired. That said, the last few years have taught me that pretty much I would turn around for anything. No, I wouldn't. I'm being very naughty here. But I think we would now look at it on a case-by-case basis. I think if we truly believed in it and we truly thought it was something that we could add value to as an agency, that is how I would determine it versus the monetary value. That's not to say I would absolutely have to look at it from a commercial point of view. I'm not an idiot, but I would look at it from both points of view, from that sort of thing. So if it's something, and also from a PR on the campaigns we've done over lockdown, they haven't necessarily made us the money, but what they have given us is a story to tell, to be able to say we're still working, to be able to say we're still reacting to things, and to be able to say, hello, we're still here. That has been worth its weight in gold more than the monetary stuff. So I think if you'd have asked me a year and a half ago, I would have said, we've put boundaries in. We've said we will not pitch for less than 30K. We will not do anything less than a 50K. But right now, we are going to look at it from a case-by-case basis. And I think that is probably the most sensible thing to do, given where the business is at right now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Dan, do you have a question, final question for Lucy?
I do. So I guess the point of these sessions is to try and understand more about our sort of independent partners. So my last question is, who would you now like to interview next?
I would like to, this is like being on Star is Born or something like that, isn't it? I would like to interview Stuart at Avant-Garde. Fantastic.
So everybody tune in 1 month for that. And if you're still in Greece, we'll be all very envious of you.
I mean, I'd love to be. I don't think it's going to be the case, but I'd love to be.
But thank you. You've been telling us a brilliant story, which I guess is inherent in Jackanory. But it's been lovely chatting to you. I think Clive might do a bit of a final piece. But
no, I mean, it's been fantastic. Thank you both, Dan. Thank you, Dan, for posing the questions. Lucy, for telling us the story and the resilience. And I have to say, both, you know, for a business like Jackanory, during the pandemic, we're all very conscious that the experiential and events industry has, you know, taken probably the hardest hit. But I think it has been inspiring by all the members of the Alliance who are in that particular part of the industry. They've shown agility, they've shown innovation and creativity to still be standing. And I think, you know, still be able to standing in Greece and still be able to work as you are today is fantastic. And your choice of Stuart Bradbury at Avant-Garde is more about collective, about experiential event businesses sticking together. So
it is, and
they have another interesting story to tell.
They do, and I've also always loved them as an agency. So when I actually randomly interviewed there when I was about 23 or 4, and we, well, I can probably tell the story when I actually interviewed Stuart, but it's really interesting as well. So I've always followed them, and I love them as an agency. So that for me is also important from a personal point of view. But obviously, yes, it's my industry, and they're an agency that I respect and think are great as well.
So that will be fantastic. As to whether it will be next month, it might not be. It might be in September, only because we're trying to just chill a little bit in terms of events. There's going to be a lot of work going on within the Alliance behind the scenes, but so we might well be skipping a month and doing the next chain interview series in September. I'll discuss that between Lucy and Stuart. And for the rest of you, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Dan, again. Lucy, everybody, have a good evening. Get your barbecues out, because it's hotter here than it is in Greece.
It is. That is true.
So enjoy. Thank you all very much indeed.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.